You're listening to the Busproof Business Podcast, taking your business to the next level by taking you out of it. With our experience and proven results, we'll help you find the success that many crave, but only we can help you achieve. It's time to get started with your host, Greg Murphy.
Hey guys, it's Greg Murphy from the Busproof Business Podcast, and we just finished up Busproof Live June 9th and 10th. And this week, what I want to do is sort of go over the run-up to the live event and exactly, some of the highlights of the live event and some of the things that we learned. And then what we're going to do next week is we're going to go over we opened a brand new store the week before the live event, Murphy's Used Books and Media, and we're going to go over the lessons from that. And so I had a very busy few weeks, and none of this stuff would have been possible without Kate from Audio Adrenaline Studio, who edits this podcast, as well as Erica Harney, who is the executive director of the Accounting Financial Women's Alliance, a very special friend of mine. And she also sets up the conference for her organization, and she basically, all the good things that happen in terms of organization for the event was because of her. She was running around like a chicken with her head cut off getting things done, and she had this like 78-point plan, critical path to make sure everybody had their things. And the way I do events is I just see it as like all of us coming, I have all my friends to come in town and hang out with, but that is not the way that you run an event. And we could tell a big difference between this year's event and last year's event because of that. So on Friday, I was already exhausted. That was day one of the event. Well, I guess technically Thursday we had the first pre-event dinner. So a bunch of us got together. Stacy and David Risher came into town a day early, and some of the other guys did. We went to Marion's. We had a good time there, and it's always amazing to me people that are the folks that are willing to come to Dayton. Which, I mean, I love my city, but no one would call Dayton a vacation hotspot. But folks come to Dayton, and it really doesn't have anything to do too much with anything other than this really is the only conference for booksellers, for Amazon booksellers that I know about at least. And most of us do feel kind of, I know at least I do, when I go to the normal, quote, normal Amazon conferences, they're not really for me. A lot of the services aren't, because, booksellers are a different breed of Amazon seller, and a lot of the services that are built really aren't for us. And so it's really good to get to a conference where there's mostly just booksellers, because, it is more, it is an isolating business, and being, even sort of like, a misfit toy, like, the Island of Misfit Toys. So even though when you go to a normal Amazon, there I go again, normal. When we go to the other Amazon conferences, there's really just usually a few booksellers, and some of the stuff doesn't apply. Because, we're selling used books, and most of the stuff sold on Amazon are new commodity type products. And so there's just a different need for services. There's just a different, it's just a much different business. It's a really tight niche in the Amazon selling community, as most of you guys who are selling books know. And so it's just great to get together with a bunch of people that do the same thing as you do. Books are heavy, and so we all got to whine about, getting older, having some back pain from digging in those boxes all the time, and just learning from each other. Because one of the things that, since it is such a niche-y business, there are lots of things that we can learn from each other by getting together regularly. And a lot of times, it just geographically, it doesn't make sense. So anytime that folks can get together in a business that doesn't have really like a trade organization or like standard operating procedures, we all can learn a lot. And that's really why there's two reasons I do the event. And one of the reasons is so that my friends so I can hang out, right? I don't have time to travel to all the other Amazon conferences, so one of the things is I can get all my buddies to come here if I host this event, and we tour the warehouse and we tour the new bookstore. But the other reason is because I always learn a ton. And we never make, I don't know that the event is ever really profitable on its face. I don't think it's ever like we're making a ton of money from it. But what it does allow me to do is if I'll learn 2 or 3 new things from people, some people that are doing a lot more than I am in a specific category, like textbooks, or some people that are, a lot smaller in terms of volume than I am, but they just have a different idea with a particular process. And at our scale, changing something small like that can have a really big impact on our bottom line. One of the things we talked about that was really interesting was the difference in some of the people that are selling merchant fulfilled, that some people are offering free shipping on their items, like baking the shipping cost into their price, and they're seeing an increase in sales that way by offering free shipping. So instead of it being $6 plus $3.99 shipping, they would offer, for merchant fulfilled, they would offer $9.99 with free shipping, and they were seeing some increase in sales that way. So that's definitely something that we're going to capitalize on, that we're going to make sure and do. I also met some folks that are really crushing it with textbooks, and just hearing some really kind things about, which is always an ego boost, right? To hear people say, I went to your first event and it really inspired me, or just to see how you can do this makes me think I can do what I'm doing bigger and better, and just see people, 10, 15, 20xing their output just based upon, some of the ideas that, not even the ideas that we have, but just by saying, hey, these processes can work. And I mean, we are all so self-limiting a lot of the times. We just see what's around us, and so what some of the things that these conferences do is it allows us to sort of normalize our behavior. Right? It's not normal what we do. It's not normal to work out of your basement in your underwear, fulfilling orders, going to library sales, buying books, working by yourself all day. That kind of stuff isn't normal, but it's a way a lot of people started this business. So what we're able to do there is by normalizing what we do and make it okay to be an entrepreneur, to take these big risks, and to see that other people are having success by doubling down and tripling down on the things that they're good at on their work. We're able to sort of make it okay for us to make those same decisions. And it's just good to be a part of a community like that. That's sort of one of the things that Anitra talked about during the event was basically being part of a community. And it's really super isolating doing what we do, and it's just good to have other people that understand. And that's really kind of what one of the purposes of this conference is. And we have people coming back year after year just for that. Now, Busproof 2018 is going to be in March. I don't have the dates right in front of me, but we'll do an announcement about that soon. But one of the things that Erica made sure that I did was to say, hey, tell these folks we need to set a date and tell these folks now so they can make time to come back. Because one of the things that was an issue this time was that I didn't want to do the live event until the bookstore was open. And we kept having some delays for the store to open. And so we had to keep pushing back the dates for the live event. And I think it was worthwhile for folks that made it because we got to tour the bookstore, and a lot of folks were really amazed by that and all the things that we were doing. And so I think it was worthwhile because some people are going to be able to take what they learned by talking with us about the bookstore and take that back to do something along that vein in their community. Because, really it's not about, replicating exactly what we're doing, but just sort of giving people permission to say, hey, it is possible. You can make a difference in your community. You can provide books and stuff, and people will come. And like, I've spoken before, Dayton isn't a massive market. And so, people can replicate what we're doing in bigger places. So day one was really good. I talked about bulk basics, which, I talked about the opening of, or I just basically walked through my business, the Murph book. So we walked through production. We did all that kind of stuff. And then Andy Slamman spoke, about, Andy. If you've ever heard Andy speak, it was amazing. And I definitely wouldn't do it justice, but basically he gave us a talk about how, you have to be passionate about what you're doing. You have to take action. That's going to make you very successful. And then we also had a panel that afternoon about book selling in 2017. And we had Stacy Risher and David Lamb, Caleb Roth, and Nick and Anitra Jump were up there, and I was moderating. And moderating means that I just sort of asked follow-up questions. I don't know if there's like specific moderating duties that I'm supposed to do. I've never moderated before, but I just got to stand up at the lectern while they sat and answered questions like bosses. So we did that, and we had a big discussion about changes with fees on the Amazon marketplaces. And we really had some round robins, and it was really good to just have a big discussion with the entire community that was there. It was a really good time. And then that night, the other good part about having the conference in my town, was that I was able to go home and go to bed. So one of the problems with being in the hotel, at least for me, is that I can get into what I call pickup meetings, right? You're walking down the hall trying to get a cup of coffee or get a soda or a snack, and you see 3 or 4 people that having a good conversation. You sit with them, and 3 beers later, it's 2 a.m. or whatever, and you got to be up really early the next day. And a lot of times that is the kind of thing that makes a conference successful. Obviously not the beers, but the conversations after the event, or after, the things that take place outside of the room. And that stuff's important, but also getting some good sleep is important too, especially when you're supposed to speak. So so I was happy to be so close to my home, so I was able to go home and sleep. Now, so Saturday, Stephen Peterson gave a really good talk about, basically taking inventory of who you are and knowing who you are. And people were pretty impressed by that talk that he gave. And then I talked about Beyond Bezos, which was basically how making money outside of Amazon, and how we think that's super important. And in fact, we're going to be our goal we probably won't make it by the end of this year, but maybe by the end of next year, to be so that less than half of our revenue is from Amazon. We really want to increase the revenue that we make from the bookstores, from selling tractor-trailer loads of sorted books, from things that take place outside of Amazon. So that's really where we want to push our operations. And the main reason is that we just want to be able to diversify. We want to maximize the revenue for every book that comes into the warehouse. And having such a big impact on the community is important to me, to be happy, right? And just doubling down, continue to double down on our Amazon business. And that's not as interesting to me as it is to make impacts in actual communities. And then we talked, Nick Jump then on Saturday afternoon talked about relationship selling. And if you don't know Nick, he's a guy, I call him he's sort of like the Johnny Appleseed of relationships. So what he does is, he just picks people up from all around when he's traveling, he meets people, figures out how he can help them. And that really is the basis of his business. He buys textbooks from professors, but that's really just the surface level of what he does. I know right now that if I need anything, if I need cheap flooring for the bookstore, I always think to call Nick, because Nick probably knows a guy, because Nick knows all the guys. And then we had Caleb. Caleb gave us a talk about pricing and the philosophy behind it, and yeah, that was really good. We're going to try to get these, at least some of the slide decks from the presentations and post them in the Facebook group at Busproof Book Flipping on Facebook. So we'll try to get some of these up there that we can. And Caleb gave a talk about pricing, and it was really interesting. He really broke it down into that FBA spread and when it's appropriate, when it can be large, when it can be small. And yeah, so that was definitely a good talk. And then we had the plan for the end of the day was to have an open Q&A, sort of a moderated question and answer session, and some discussion and networking. But what ended up happening was that sort of organically, everybody started breaking up into groups to have these really, really serious discussions. And so the plan was for about an hour and a half for us to really, knuckle down together as a group and just have, sort of a moderated discussion. But as we wore on, and the break was supposed to be over, and I got the little ear, I got grabbed by the ear to say, hey, look, it's time to start. I was looking around and seeing that, everybody's where they want to be. And I think one of the failings of how we organized the conference was that it was packed a little too tight. I think next time we're going to have, because what we saw was that people were starving for time to sort of just spend with each other. And so we had discussions, really deep discussions going on about pricing in one corner of the room. We had really deep discussions about different software products in another corner of the room. And so just organically, I kind of just said, well, you know what, if this is what the guy, and I actually went up onto the microphone. I said, hey, guys, do you just want to keep doing this for the rest of the day? Because instead of doing a 90-minute panel, and everybody was like, yeah, let's just keep things as they are. And so they really were able to get a lot out of that. And that's sometimes bottom up works better than top down. So, I mean, I could have said, hey, let's quiet down, let's get into this. But it really seemed that just organically, there were probably 6 or 7 really good conversations that people were having, and I didn't feel like it would really been serving people very much to sort of try to break that up just to where things can be a little bit more organized. So I think what we're going to do next year is we're going to have some extra time after lunch or whatever to do some just like networking time, right? Where we can have discussion stations where people can talk about different topics. And I think that's something that we'll definitely do next time. But, and then after that, on Saturday night, we all went to the warehouse for a warehouse tour and what is called diplomatically on the schedule, a thank you celebration. Because Erica was in charge of the schedule and that's what she named it, but it was really an after party. So, so we went back to the warehouse. I gave everybody a tour and answered questions. Then we had a few adult beverages, and some of us had a couple more. And we just kind of hung out and enjoyed each other's company. And it was a pretty late night. And then, that was it. Sunday, I went up to the store and met a couple of the guys, and we talked a little bit more. But it was a really great event, and I learned a lot. And I'm still catching up on my sleep, so if my energy seems a little bit down, that's kind of why. But it was a great time, and I can't wait to do it again. But if you weren't able to make it, we're going to do the best we can to at least make some of the discussions available. We're going to try to put some of them on, maybe partially at least, as podcasts. We're going to see what we can do. We'll see. We'll see what we can do to make some of that stuff available. And now next week, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about opening of the store and some of the things that I've learned and some of the things that I think I could do better next time. But again, and not just because, we're running the conference, but even if you're not super into books, what I will say is that networking is super important. It's something that I should spend more time on, and it's something that we all, because the trick about networking is that you never know which at bat is going to be a home run and which is going to be a dud. And so because the stuff that really makes an impact are things that aren't on the written schedule. It's the happenstance. It's the kismet that happens when you put yourself in these types of situations. So go to events, talk to people, learn, and just be there. That's the people that find the most success. Now, and I know sometimes maybe in this regard I don't practice what I preach enough. It's just that and we're all super busy. And so that's sort of my excuse, is to say, well, I'm too busy to go to some of these conferences. And, people also can overdo it. I know there's people that go to 15, 20 events a year, some even more. And for some people's businesses, that makes sense if you're selling a service. But if you're just there to network and to learn, we have to figure out a difference between just going there to network and basically running your business at home, right? You got to make the money before you can afford to fly around. So yeah, guys, I definitely suggest to get more at bats in. So try to do some of these networking events, even if it's just locally, right? We're all in sales, every single one of us, no matter what it is that you do for a living. We're all selling ourselves. We're selling what we're up to, and we're always learning every day. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Hopefully that's been a little helpful for you to learn a little bit more about Busproof Live. I'll be announcing the exact dates. The only reason I'm not now is because I don't remember. But yeah, so I'll be announcing the dates for the next live event. It's going to be in March. And as always, guys, remember, make today count.
That's all for this episode of the Busproof Business Podcast. Be sure to point your browser to busproofworkshop.com to sign up for our mailing list and to get your opportunity to enroll in one of our specialized seminars, guaranteeing you continued results in typical Busproof fashion. Thanks again for joining us. We look forward to taking your business to the next level right here on the Busproof Business Podcast.